The silent bond. Michael Nwosu stood by the window of his family's estate in Udi village, staring out at the rolling hills. To an outsider, the grand mansion represented wealth and prestige, a hallmark of the Nwosu legacy. But to Michael, it was a gilded cage. As the only son of the Nwosu family, a dynasty built on land deals and clever financial maneuvers, Michael had grown up knowing he was destined to carry the weight of the family name. What he hadn't anticipated was how suffocating it would feel until he met her. Stephanie Ikin had come into his life like a breath of fresh air. She wasn't like the women Michael grew up with, heirs of wealthy families clad in designer clothes. She was genuine, warm, and simple. Michael had escaped to Udi's local coffee shop one evening, seeking reprieve from his family's constant demands. That's where he first saw Stephanie, her hands busy rolling dough in the shop's modest kitchen, her messy ponytail swaying as she walked. Stephanie lived a different life. Raised by a single mother, she had experienced poverty firsthand. Her family's small home in Udi had always been filled with love but not much else. She dreamed of stability, of a small art gallery where she could showcase her creations. Her art was her escape, a sanctuary where she could be free. Meeting Michael had felt surreal. He didn't seem like the typical wealthy patron she'd encountered. He was kind, curious, and seemed restless, as though searching for something missing. Their first conversation had been brief, exchanged while Stephanie wiped tables at the cafe. Michael, lingering over a cup of coffee and an old book, had caught her off guard with his genuine smile. Late night, he'd asked gently. Stephanie had shrugged, brushing off the weariness she felt. Just another shift. The connection was immediate, magnetic even. Over the weeks, Michael became a regular visitor. Their conversations grew deeper. Stephanie shared her dreams, while Michael confided in the struggles of living under his family's expectations. Michael's feelings for Stephanie deepened. She represented a life he craved, real, unpretentious, and full of sincerity. But he knew his family wouldn't approve. The Nwosus expected him to marry within their circle, ensuring the legacy remained intact. One night, as they sat by a quiet stream under the village's moonlit sky, Michael confessed, "Sometimes, I wish I could leave it all behind and just be me." Stephanie had squeezed his hand. "You can," she said softly. "You don't have to let them control your life." When Michael's family discovered his relationship with Stephanie, they were furious. His father threatened to cut him off, while his mother issued an ultimatum. They wasted no time arranging his departure under the guise of a prestigious business program in London. Michael resisted, pleaded even, but the Nwosus were relentless. Before he left, he rushed to the cafe to see Stephanie, but she wasn't there. His attempts to reach her were blocked at every turn. Stephanie, meanwhile, waited in vain at the cafe for Michael to return, unaware of the forces pulling them apart. Stephanie's world turned grey after Michael's departure. Days turned into weeks, and her once bright future felt like a distant memory. She reached out to him, leaving messages at the cafe and with mutual acquaintances, but all her efforts were met with silence. Then came the realization that changed her life forever: she was pregnant. Standing in the tiny bathroom of her cramped apartment, she clutched the sink, staring at the positive test. A mix of terror and joy overwhelmed her. This child would be a part of Michael, a piece of the love they'd shared. But telling her family wasn't easy. When she finally gathered the courage, her mother's reaction was harsh. "How could you bring this kind of shame to us?" her mother had demanded, her voice cutting like glass. "I didn't plan this, Mama," Stephanie pleaded, tears streaming down her face. "I just need your support." Her mother's response was cold: "You're on your own." Thrown out of her family home, Stephanie faced an unforgiving world alone. She worked tirelessly, taking on shifts at the cafe and any odd jobs she could find. But as her pregnancy progressed, her savings dwindled, and she was eventually forced to leave her apartment. She moved between shelters, fighting to keep herself afloat. When her son, Nathan, was born, the challenges only intensified. Holding him in her arms for the first time, she felt a fierce love that pushed her to endure, despite the hardships. Years passed, and Stephanie's life became a relentless cycle of survival. Nathan grew up with a quiet resilience that broke her heart even as it made her proud. "Do you think my dad thinks about us?" Nathan asked one night as they huddled in a shelter during a storm. Stephanie hesitated, brushing his hair gently. "I think he would give anything to be here if he knew," she said softly. But deep down, she had lost hope of ever seeing Michael again. By the time Nathan was 10, they had settled into a tiny apartment in Udi's outskirts. Stephanie found work at a local diner, barely earning enough to cover their needs. Nathan, resourceful and kind, often explored the streets near the diner, finding small ways to help his mother. One afternoon, he lingered near a large office building downtown, watching people in polished suits come and go. It was here that he met Michael for the first time, though neither knew their true connection. Michael, now a successful businessman, noticed the boy sitting on the curb, looking hungry and tired. Without much thought, he handed Nathan a few naira and a sandwich. "Here you go," Michael said kindly. "Thank you, sir," Nathan replied, his eyes lighting up with gratitude. Over the weeks, their paths crossed more frequently. Michael often found Nathan near the building and offered him small acts of kindness, a sandwich, a warm drink, or a few words of encouragement. Unbeknownst to Michael, he was unknowingly drawn to the boy who carried his own features, dark hair, curious eyes, and a quiet strength. One fateful afternoon, Nathan was struck by a speeding car while crossing the street near the office building. Michael, witnessing the accident, rushed to his side and called for help. At the hospital, Michael stayed with Nathan, feeling a protective instinct he couldn't explain. As Nathan drifted in and out of consciousness, he mentioned his mother, Stephanie, though he didn't share her full name. Stephanie, meanwhile, was frantic. Nathan hadn't returned home, and she searched the streets, asking anyone if they had seen him. Exhausted and terrified, she returned to the apartment, hoping for some sign of him. That's when she found the note. Scribbled hastily, it explained that Nathan was at the hospital after an accident. Rushing to the hospital, Stephanie's heart pounded as she entered the waiting area. Her relief at seeing Nathan turned to shock when she recognized the man sitting beside him, Michael. He was holding Nathan protectively, his expression soft and fatherly. For a moment, Stephanie froze, memories flooding back. Michael looked up, their eyes meeting. "Stephanie," he whispered, his voice thick with disbelief. The reunion was bittersweet. As they spoke, the years of pain and longing surfaced. Stephanie shared her struggles, and Michael revealed his regret at being unable to return. "I tried to find you," Michael said, his voice breaking. "They blocked everything. But I never stopped thinking about you." Stephanie hesitated before revealing the truth. "Michael, Nathan is your son." Michael's world tilted. He stared at Stephanie, then at Nathan, the realization washing over him. "He's my son," he whispered, his voice trembling. Nathan, overhearing the revelation, looked between them with wide eyes. "You're my dad?" he asked Michael, his voice filled with wonder. Michael knelt beside him, tears in his eyes. "Yes, Nathan. I'm your dad. And I'm so sorry I wasn't there for you." Nathan hesitated for a moment before throwing his arms around Michael, hugging him tightly. As the three of them stood together, emotions raw but hopeful, Michael promised to make things right. "I'll be here from now on," he said, looking at both Stephanie and Nathan. "We'll be a family if you have me." Stephanie nodded, tears streaming down her face. "We've waited for this moment, Michael. Let's move forward together." Hope you enjoyed the tale. If so, please like the video, comment, share it with your family and friends, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell for more enchanting tales like this one. Goodbye.